Okay, guys, here we are for Anzacanarance, turn 7, with Italy thrown in too, but it turns out Italy doesn't have any pieces left on the board, so nothing to do there. But we're going to go ahead and start here. Canada, they have 13 in the bank. They're going to go ahead and spend 12 of that on a strategic bomber. And then I've got a bunch of non-combat moves and one combat to take care of for Anzac. So since all the stuff on this side is non-combat, we'll go over here and we'll do the actual combat for Anzac. Of course, Anzac has no money to spend because, of course, Sydney is in the hands of the Japanese here. So we're setting up here for the very last round of the game. The Axis have 12 victory points, which is what they need. They just need to hold them through the end of round 8, which will be starting after my turn here. So as far as combat goes, the one thing that Anzac is going to do, we have these two fighters in... I always say it wrong. I always say Celebes, but I believe it's, I can't say it right. All I can say is Celebes. Celebs? Something. Anyway, they're going to take off from there. There's an air base. So 1 into the C zone, 2 into 35, 3 into 20, 4 into C zone 19, and they can land there in Manchuria. So both of these fighters are coming up to take on this destroyer and transport. So what that's going to be is 2 3s against a 2. That is the only combat move. Everything else is just non-combat. So let's go ahead here. So we've got the 2 fighters at 3. I just need a hit, and both misses. Okay, here's the destroyer. A miss. All right, let's set it up and try it again. Whoops, dropped it on the floor. Let's pick it up. Okay, 2 at 3. All right, we got it. So that's the hit on the destroyer, but the destroyer gets to fire back, and it's a miss. Okay, and then once that destroyer comes off the board, because of that, the transport is just going to be an auto kill after that. So he is now gone. Okay, and the 2 Anzac fighters are just going to continue on there to Manchuria. Okay, so that takes care of the only battle for the round. Let's see now. As far as non-combats go, I might as well start over here since I'm on this side of the. Actually, there is nothing on this side of the board for non-combat. So let's go back over here to the Canadian side. So what we've got is these 2 infantry and the Canadian transport in 86. He's going to pick up those 2 guys and move 1, 2 into C zone 91. He's going to bring these 2 guys from Brazil with him, drop them off in Morocco. Okay, that takes care of that little one. This one here, the transport in C zone 106, is going to set sail, leaving from a naval base. So 1, 2, 3, also coming down into C zone 106. He's going to bring the artillery from Quebec with him, drop him off also in Morocco. Okay. The transport, I should probably explain this. There is a Canadian transport there in 95, and even though in Detroit's video that Canadian transport was sunk, there was a French fighter on southern Italy at the time, and we as the Allies wanted to scramble that and just Detroit just forgot. It's okay. I mean, we have all forgotten stuff. But Hambone, if you saw on his Russia turn, he went ahead and rolled that. And what happened was the French fighter and the German fighter that had come down to get that transport killed each other, with the result that the Canadian transport survived. So it's still there in C-Zone 95. So he's going to head on out, 1-2, down to C-Zone 98. Oh, excuse me. I've got a little bit of allergies today. Okay, so the Canadian transport's there in C-Zone 98. The other thing we're going to do is this strategic bomber is going to be designated as an air transport in Scotland. He's going to grab 2 of these infantry that are there, and he's going to go, they're leaving from an air base. I don't know that he needs it, but he's going to go 1 into 111, 2 into 112, 3 into Western Germany, 4 into Northern Italy, 5 into C-Zone 97, and then 6 he's going to be landing in Greece. And he's going to go ahead and bring these 2 infantry with him into Greece. The other units that are up here in Scotland are just going to move down to London. There's no reason for them to be up there in Scotland anymore. And then let me just make sure I'm not missing anything else. I tried to mark with little arrows everything here. I think that takes care of it on this side of the board. So let's see. And I think that takes care of Anzac Canada turn. I'll go ahead and place my bomber here in Quebec, in the factory in Quebec. That's the only place it can go. Not that the money really matters this last round, but Canada is at 9, plus the 3 that they get for their NO. They do have troops there in Morocco, which is still French. So that makes 12, and they carried over 1, so that gives them 13 again. Not that that's going to make any difference. Round 8, but that's what they've got. And then for the French, which technically go after Anzac in Canada, but I think we can just go ahead and do it now. The French destroyer that's in 39 is going to set sail, 1 into 41, 2 into 42. So he's going to hang out there right off the coast of Java. Okay. And then I think that does it for Anzac Canada France. So let's just do a recap here. Might as well start on this side of the board. We have 1 infantry in Solomon Islands. In C-Zone 44, we have a submarine. There's also a British transport, actually 2 British transports, a British cruiser, a British battleship there. On the island itself, there is Celebes. I think I said it right that time. There's an infantry and an artillery, along with some British units. I think 2 British infantry, a British artillery, and 3 British fighters and a British anti-aircraft gun. On Sumatra, there is 1 Anzac infantry, along with a British tactical bomber. Up in Manchuria, we've got 2 Anzac fighters. And I think that does it for this side of the board. Kind of going over to here. I might as well say it now too. As far as France goes, they've got a destroyer in C-Zone 42. Let's go over to this side of the board. We've got 2 Canadians in Transjordan, along with 2 French. There's also 2 British there. C-Zone 98, there is a Canadian transport. In Greece, which is Allied Italian, There is a Canadian air transport along with 2 Canadian infantry. There's also 3 British fighters and a British tactical bomber there. In Morocco, we have 4 Anzac infantry along with, Canadian infantry, along with a Canadian artillery, C-Zone 91. There's a pair of Canadian transports. London itself, there are, one more non-combat. If you guys will let me do this. The Canadian fighter here in London was meant to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and land in Gibraltar. And so in Gibraltar, if that's okay with G.I. Joe and Detroit, we also have a Canadian fighter in Gibraltar. London itself, we have 2 Canadian infantry, 1 Canadian artillery, and then in Quebec, we have 1 Canadian strategic bomber. And I believe that is it. I think we're on to the last round, round 8. So here we go. Axis are at 8, and we'll see if anything changes, if the Allies are able to knock them down, and if the Axis are maybe able to gain any others. Thanks for watching. I didn't show the dead from the round, but here they are. Those are the Germans, a few Russians, decent amount of Japanese, 3 Chinese troops, 1 British infantry, all the rest of the Italians that were on the board, some Anzac units, and then of course that French fighter that sacrificed himself so that the Canadian transport could live. Thanks, guys.